I'm Becky outside the Acid Cult Studios here, and I'm talking with Simone about his new Arcangelo Demoni project, and it's going to be his third album. Tell us about this project.
Thank you. So, Arcangelo Demoni is a multimedia music project first and foremost, and it's a graphic novel, also an RPG. We're even doing some early drafts of the screenplay right now for Hollywood right now. But basically, it's just a story that's set in the late 2080s, early 2090s, and the main goal is to see, like when I was growing up in like church, I would always see like the Christian apocalypse, like the Seven Seals and the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and like all that stuff, and just I remember being like terrified by it. I was like, that sounds fucking scary, like having to, like just all this stuff falling from the sky, and like people, it's just crazy stuff. But like, seeing it come alive, a lot of that stuff now, and like, I mean, a lot of this book called Return of the Gods was a huge influence, as well as like, 90s RPGs like Shin Megami Tensei. But like, I wanted to build my world where it's like, my own fantasy character, my own like kind of, world to build. And like, the thing that I wanted to do first and foremost with this apocalypse was almost make it like, what if it was like a sci-fi like 90s movie, like it was like Jerry Bruckheimer like meets like the apocalypse of like the Four Horsemen. So like, yeah, it's a cool project. So like, but yeah, basically in it, it's about this character named Arcangelo Demoni. He's a bounty hunter that lives in Vegas in like the 2080s, 2090s, and like, Area 51's broken out and like aliens have come out, but just like with the day and age of people just being so like mind zapped and not caring, like people just don't care. There's like aliens walking around, just living life, and like, things are starting to become really crazy, and like there's this big like, new like just fascist like building built in the middle of Vegas, like on the middle of Area 51 called the Citadel, and this team, called the Piero, they're meant to, hunt these demons and protect the elites, that live in this. So like, kind of definitely commentary, for sure.
Well, it's great to hear what happens in the first album. Let's talk about the second one.
Yeah, so in the second record, it was called The Final Death of the Antichrist at the End of Time. Came out last year in 2022, but it's about like those events of that apocalypse actually unfolding, and like normal people, like these bounty hunters, and like people just trying to come to terms with like, oh man, there's this like Antichrist that's coming in, and he's like ushering the real end of the world. What should we do to stop him? And most biblical depictions are like, oh, this apocalypse just happens. We're like, but what if like this one's cool because it's like in the 90s like spy effect, like what if we could stop it? It's like this summer. Like that's like kind of what we were going for all this one. So and the thing is just trying to survive, like how to survive the end of the world. What would you do in that theoretical situation? And the story, he obviously in the name he fights and defeats the Antichrist at the end of time. And what happens is after that happens, in the last song in the second album, it's about how like the world is ending and how even after the end of time keeps going on. And like this third album is like what happens after the end of time. This third album, Arcangelo Demoni 3. So I think a big deal on this one specifically is just like they go into a portal. It was made by the scientists of the Antichrist, and then like they're like, and basically they defeat the Antichrist. They hold him up at gunpoint. They're like, you're gonna take us to a new fucking world really quick, where this shit doesn't fucking happen. And they're like, okay. And they go type it in, and it leads them to a whole new world.
Yeah.
And in this third album, which you asked about the first and second, so obviously it's going to lead to this one we're promoting. It's Arcangelo Demoni 3, The Time of Judgement. So it's the third album, and it has to do with like the rapture or whatever, and and just the end of it all, and like this will probably be the last album it's definitely the last album in this trilogy, but like it might be the last Arcangelo album for a while. Because I mean, just until I find a place for the story to go, I feel like this right now is very suiting to where it needs to be, for right now. So, but basically in this third one, that team of bounty hunters, who defeated the Antichrist, in the second one, they get in the hands of an alternate world, basically ruled by the ancient gods of Rome. So instead of the Christian apocalypse, it's like the Roman apocalypse. And it's like an analogy, almost kind of like this, relating the two societies, if you will. That's a huge thing. So like, yeah. And the story serves as a perfect closing to this trilogy as it plays out like a traditional Arcangelo album. Like the first two almost have like a formula where there's like battles, and it's music for an RPG. just with singing and all that. It's like, you know, it's kind of taking on the whole soundtrack craze of the 90s again, you know, so, but it just flips it on its head, and it brings the whole thing to a very satisfactory close, you know, and I think it's honestly, I was working on this, and I was like, you know, does this trilogy really does it really need to be a trilogy? But like, I mean, just leaving the second one off on a cliffhanger where they fall through a portal, I'm like, it's gotta end somewhere, you know. And their whole thing in this one is it's perfect because they're just trying to get back, and when they get there, they see these narcissistic Roman gods who are like kind of like, you know, with the people, and they rule the people, but they like act like drunks and whatever the fuck, and just like narcissistic celebrities like they would today. And like they basically are like, hey, well, we're you know, under this mental spell by the you know, the higher gods like Kronos, you know, that are in Tartarus, like, and they're locked away. And if you can defeat them, if you can go down there and break that spell, then we'll send you back to your world. You know, and it's like a perfect, because it does link the whole 3 albums together, and like it brings the end to the beginning. Yeah. So very excited on that one. Very good narrative close for sure. So yeah.
Sure. What inspired the album overall?
So thematically, I can confidently say that Sam Raimi's 1993 cult classic Army of Darkness was massive inspiration, you know, for this one. Just both story dynamics as well as just the aesthetics on this one as well, especially the sense of bringing you know, the characters even to like a wider kind of fish out of water kind of you know, setting, and also just you know, keeping the familiarity that the story or trilogy, you know, pre-existing franchise is already known for, you know, and so I think it's huge. So, you know, another thing is musically, I was incredibly inspired by, you know, the sounds and the directions of like the post-punk movement, like the Manchester, the kind of Happy Mondays, the Stone Roses, even the Britpop sounds, the early 90s. Yeah, you know, just the sounds of the post-punk bands, you know, like, I'd say like Love and Rockets, you know, that kind of Daniel Ash, you know, Get Out of Control, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song on this album that you like?
Yeah, probably Titan Hunter, because the song, it just, you know, after years and years of kind of just building this project up, and especially where it came from almost a place of like, you know, starting with the, you know, unrecognized victimhood, almost to like a, you know, seizing of strength. It really shows the feeling of real victory after years and years of like real hardship, real sorrow. You know, not like, you know, a lot of people complain about now, but like real shit, you know. So, you know, it really gives that almost cinematic conclusion to the story of really just completing a satisfying character arc that like really took years to build, you know. So, yeah.
Nice. So, tell the people where you can find this album.
So obviously it'll be available on our Spotify as well as Apple Music and anywhere music's found nowadays. But yeah, we'll be doing. We already had some CDs come out for the first album. We're gonna get some jackets for the second and the third one. We're gonna do a bundle set, because when the graphic novel will be the next asset to release on this project, which we'll eventually just keep bundling up until we have a big box set, you know, when this world's built. So we're just very excited for where this project's going, and thank you for being a part of it and having us. I'm very grateful to be here. So thank you.